Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning, Wendy. How you going?
Oh, I'm cold.
I know. I'm cold today too.
I just had a wave. I was thinking I was going to have to go and peel off the layers, but no, I don't. I think I'm safe to leave them on.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to go after this podcast and get some wood that's going to burn properly because it's not burning very well in our fire and it's freezing.
Oh, you're bloody cold down there, though. Like I feel like a whinger if I say anything because yours is way colder than mine.
Rubbish! Don't you dare feel like a whinger. No, and look, I'm probably more immune to the cold than what you are anyway, as we know, because I'm used to it. Just same as the heat. You're more immune to the heat than what I am. So
yeah. And I'll stay all rugged up because my beans keep under control when I'm a little bit warm, on the warm side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So today, what are we going to talk about?
Let's talk about change, navigating in this for some a crazy world, for some a very nice world right now. But whatever your world is, there is change around everybody. I think, navigating change is it can be a really tricky part of our life. It can be very difficult when, especially I think, Wendy, so many people, and that includes myself, have been experiencing change since pre-COVID. We had the fires and all of that before that as well. And so just trying to navigate that change. And as I said to you right at the very beginning, before we started recording, was trying to better understand who I am and where I am and what I'm doing, because it's really about fine-tuning my space.
Yeah. I think that there's so many that are living with uncertainty right now. And I think that uncertainty is that's change in motion is what creates that.
Absolutely.
That inner uncertainty. And how do we navigate it? What do we do? Everything, it doesn't matter whether it's now or whether it's, years and years ago. Everything is still in a state of flux.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's never concrete. The old saying, and if you don't like what's there, you're not a tree, get up and move.
Yeah.
But I think that's
really
been taken away from people right now. The climate that we're living in right now is vastly different to what it was, even 5, 6, 7 years ago. That it's, I think, it's not just young, like there's no demographic that is immune to any of this. It's, we're seeing it's affecting the older people, it's affecting the young families, it's affecting, people like you and I, we're empty nesters, we've still got things that affect us. And so how do you navigate it? And I think that, one of the things that is really going to get a lot of people through is never be too attached to something, because it doesn't define who you are. It is, it doesn't matter whether it's your house, your car, like whatever it is. Yes, they are our possessions, but your inner peace has got to come first. And that's not to say, like, I'm very well, I'm the activist part of this relationship here.
Absolutely. And I'm the ostrich.
And I will stand up for the underdog, and I will stand up for what is right and what is truthful. But in all of that, I still have my own inner peace, and that's about how I navigate that change. What can how can I pivot to make sure that our lives remain in harmony? And I think everyone needs to feel that way, because when we bend down to the fears, that raises that lowers our frequency, lowers our vibration.
Absolutely.
And it just affects our emotional well-being tenfold, and at the end of the day, we did the Self-Love Summit 2 years ago now.
I know. Do you believe that?
That was our gift to humanity for mental well-being.
Yeah.
That was our focus back then. And, we've come a long way since then, and so much has happened.
Wow.
That has really impacted on people, and right now, a lot of that's impacting on people is the financial situation. So,
and also too, still, I think one of the things, and a lot of people I've been talking to, Wendy, is where people belong now. They feel because of the uncertainty,
yep,
and the uncomfortableness of the surroundings. Often we try and fight that or resist it. But as I mentioned to you when we first started chatting this morning, trying to navigate that, trying to understand where you fit in that space.
Well,
Because
so many
change is challenging, regardless of how you manage it.
I think it is a soul searching. Who am I? What why am I here? What am I to do?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, we've got to acknowledge that there's a lot of businesses that have gone belly up over the last couple of years, and that's put people out into the having to realize that maybe they need to have a look at different skills that they've got, and what they were doing before is not necessarily what they
Totally.
are can do going forward, even though it may be something that they think was their dream job. It might have been their dream calling, but they've had to pivot and either do it in a different way, do it for themselves. I know that there's a lot of people that I've helped that have stepped, that they lost their job as someone else was in control, and they were put in control and they didn't quite know how to do that. But they've decided to do that for themselves, and so they've gone into business for themselves. And it can be a scary thing, when you aren't being told what to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you haven't got expectations that you have to meet.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It raises that. Am I worthy enough? Am I good enough? Am I deserving enough? Like, all of that stuff comes up. It really is soul, for us to go inward and really make sure that we're on the path to harmony and peace. Like, that's at the end of the day, that's why we're here, is to be able to attain that. So it's interesting times.
Oh, totally. It is. And one of the big things I personally have been trying to rediscover is what my purpose is now. I used to be very clear on my purpose. I was very, very clear on my purpose. But lots of things have changed with me. I am a different person. I have changed. And so now trying to look at that from the new version of me as to what my purpose is. How different is it to what I wanted to do before?
So can you explain how have you changed? And what I mean by this is that, when this came up for me, it was like I was so used to being full on 24/7 on call, on planes, in, managing a team of people. So you were always looking at the emotional, mental well-being there as well, to make sure that, everyone's was taken care of. And then that stopped. When I walked out the door, that stopped. And then there was just me. And I had to then get things. So I went from internally being in that chaotic, always, having to do, to then being able to learn to be, and to be on purpose, to do things the way that it sat really well with me, not something that may have triggered in me. Well, if that, that's probably got a little bit of integrity issues there, whereas it came back to being my full responsibility was for me. And I had all this time that I dedicated to something else that was all mine. And so then that was the change for me. I had to learn how I was going to, chunk those hours up into where they were going to be purpose driven, to be able to do what I needed to do.
Yes. And look, I can totally relate to that as well. Obviously, when I left my corporate, my government role, into transitioning into my own business, I, like you, didn't have anyone telling me what to do, and I had to figure it out. And you and I have talked about this a lot. Becoming an entrepreneur or a soulpreneur is a very lonely journey. And I was very grateful for having a number of groups and connections that I have, the mastermind that I did with you last year, and just trying to connect in with those. And there's a very fine line, I think, between connecting in with those. And look, I've got so many around me that I can still connect with face to face. And do you think I do? I don't. And maybe that's been one of my downfalls, is actually not getting back out there in that face to face. So instead, I've taken the easy train, and I'm going back into a corporate role and government role, whatever you like to call it. And I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to react. I'm just going to try and take every day as it comes. I'm not going full time, so I will be still running my business as well. Again, back to that, I will have to be very mindful, because I have, over the last 7 years, created a life of becoming present. And I must admit, that's one of the big things that I have celebrated most recently, how I feel I am more present when I'm doing things now. Like, it took me a long time to break those habits of having the work phone and having the work laptop and just stopping everything and putting my family second because I needed to put them first, which I actually didn't. So to change that took me a long time. Making sure I keep that change, making sure I keep my self-care, making sure I'm really open-minded and still open-hearted, and not becoming too stressed, because as we know, when you become very stressed, your heart space can change. So I know where I've been, I know where I've come from. I'm not going into that with closed eyes, but I know that I need something now different, and I don't even know if this is going to be what I need. I don't know. But I'm just going to give it a go. And like, as we often say, I'm not a tree. I can change at any time.
Do you think it's the challenge for you?
Possibly.
You're looking for another challenge or something to get your teeth into?
Really.
That
I think so. I think a bit of boredom. Even though being an entrepreneur, soulpreneur is not boring, because, oh my God, this, like that, I think that probably actually, just as I'm even saying that now, it's like there is so much you can do in your business. There is so much. Probably so much some of the times that it became so overwhelming. That was so much I often procrastinated because I didn't know where to start.
I was just going to say, the overwhelm can quite honestly push you away from doing that, to go and back into the safety of, okay, I just need to show up here, and I need to end the day there, do what I got to do there, and I can walk away. Like,
and you saying that just really just rings a few bells, in the sense that even this morning I got up and I went, I could do this and this and this and this, and then I went, I end up quite often at my end of my days, because at the moment I'm actually having downtime, which is wonderful. I am still doing a few clients, but I'm mostly having some me time, and hubby and I have been traveling and what have you. But it's like, I'll get to the end of the day where I'm thinking I'm going to have a work day, and I actually don't. And I end up procrastinating so much, thinking I can do all these wonderful things. I end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then nothing at all, if that makes sense, except a lot of procrastination, or a lot of surfing the net.
Yeah.
Because that's very easy to do here when it's a cold day and you can be sitting by the fire, and, hubby will have the TV on and I might end up just surfing the net. And so I think you're right, probably looking for something more challenging than just doing that.
And you know what? I think there's going to be other people that would be experiencing the same thing. You know, they may have found that they're in the same position for so long, and now they're looking at something that's a little bit more challenging, that's something that's a little bit different. But it will bring up all of those, you know, can I do it?
Well,
Emotions.
as we know, we are just dropping old self-limiting behaviours like bags of poop, really. You know, we're just dropping it. I mean, I know for me personally, I have been shedding for so long. I have been shedding, you know, stuff is coming up for me continuously where I'm looking at it. I'm actually able to look back at so much now and go, oh, yeah, I reacted really different to that. Go me. You know, I was present. It's like I've let that go from my soul contract. I've actually moved beyond it and I no longer have to experience that. I've got through that. But then there's other times still where I'm going, okay, I didn't quite manage that as good as I could have. I'm going to get that one come back to me because I know that I'm going to have to learn how to do that one properly. And so that's a change within itself. I'm continually reevaluating myself, not in a negative way. I don't judge myself, but I do actually look into it and go, okay, 5 years ago, I would have dealt with this in a very different way, whereas now I've actually dealt with it more in a heart space. And I'm really celebrating that for myself a lot as well. So it'll be interesting to go back into a role where I think it's going to be a wonderful role. But again, if it doesn't work, I'm not stuck.
Yeah. And I think it's really healthy to evaluate. I think and acknowledge and be aware. I think we don't want to do the ostrich where we just ignore it all and just keep plowing on. You know, and what I mean by that is, you know, I've been working with someone that every place they've been has been the same outcome. It's always, I've had a shitty boss, or I've had shitty workmates, or, you know, there's always something, but never, okay, so, you know, either am I suited to this role? Like, because I can tell you, like, I look at myself now as being unemployable. So
absolutely not.
Even though
like from my view, absolutely not.
Exactly. Like a lot of people would say that's, you know, and I have had
a load of
those people say, you know, that I am definitely highly employable, but you know, what I see is, you know, I am unemployable because of the way that I want to organize my days and the way that I want to work with people and etc. But I think it's really healthy for us to be looking at what works and what doesn't work wherever we've been. And if there's a pattern, that's a really good opportunity for us to have a really good look at, you know, is there something in there that's really a thorn in my side? Like, is it the pebble in the shoe that's saying, you know, there's a little bit more work to do there? And, you know, it might be that, you know, it's just as simple as forgiveness and gratitude and looking at people as being people, you know, and honoring that we are in other people's spaces.
Absolutely. Oh, I totally resonate with all of that. I really do. And it's interesting because I also feel I'm actually going into this change of roles because I actually want to change intuitive souls. And I definitely know that. And I know that in my heart and my soul. I know that I don't believe intuitive souls is going to go away, but I think Sharon Schmidt's going to come back. And
I was going to say the same thing. Intuitive souls is always going to be your community, but Sharon Schmidt is who you are, because that's who intuitive souls is.
I know you and I have had these discussions before. It's like I actually need to cut the cord to that, to start that, to come back and do that. I don't know. Look, but I don't know. And that's the thing. I'm really being honest. I actually don't know. And so I am looking at my purpose, and I am looking at trying to rediscover myself. I am trying to define my boundaries And I think I have done that. I'm going into a role where it's very flexible. I'm only working part-time. I can be on the road, and as long as I'm getting my work done, my manager has told me, go you. So
Yeah.
I haven't started yet, but I also don't feel, I think one of the big things, I don't feel stuck.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I did when I was younger and I had children in, school fees and young girls, the costs of young children, and a mortgage and all of this. Hubby was in a business and he was, I needed to have that secure income and all of those sorts of things. I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
I'm a very, very different person. And so I'm ready to rediscover who I am.
Yeah.
And I think and as you mentioned earlier, I think it's a really healthy thing.
And, we talk about, and like I run the Ripple Effect Mastermind, and the reason that I bought that was born was because being a solopreneur is a very lonely job, and you have to be the master of absolutely bloody everything. And so it's a community that allows you to have work alongside or in commune with other people, even though you're working on your own business. But I think that that's one of the things that that sets it apart, is that's the, and you've been a participant there as well. So when you come in there, it's having the interaction with the other people that are there.
Yes.
Because when you're a solopreneur, you are at home doing your thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, you may have clients, but the rest of it, you're all on your own.
And I think the really important thing for it, Wendy, too, it provided a safe space, a safe container for us to be able to come and see that we were all dealing with the same struggles or the same, or and it was like this. Some weeks I'd have a good week, some weeks I'd have a bad week, but others did the same. And so I knew that was okay. That was normal. That was okay to do that. And so when the ones that were having a good week, they were able to support the ones a lot more that were having a bad week, and vice versa. So I think that really safe container, it just gave us that space to still work in our own businesses and be individuals and express who we were and our own characters and all of that sort of stuff. But it also
it's
gave us a
lonely.
oneness.
It's lonely when you're on your own all the time.
It brought us together as a one.
You going back into the workplace, I think that's the interactions, the different personalities, and being able to have a chat and get to know different people, and that is going to be hugely beneficial, because I think everyone needs that,
And me being a very social person, I absolutely miss baking that cake, taking it into my colleagues and sharing it with them, and cruising down a hallway and like people used to laugh that they could always hear me before they saw me.
Yeah.
Because I either had jewelry that made noises or my laughter just echoed through the hallways. And so I miss a lot of that. It's been 7 years at the end of this month. 7 years I've been I got the 7-year itch.
I was just going to say, how interesting, because it is the 7-year itch. It's 7-year cycles.
Yeah.
You have a look at all the stuff that happens in 7-year cycles. Yep. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I think good on you, like being able to go and work alongside other people and have that. It's all about energy. Like you feel like you're alive. And I
don't know how that's going to work out, but I'm just going to give it a go.
And I say kudos to you. But that's, you're navigating that change.
I am.
And all of us are. Every one of us is navigating change, from my girl with her job where they're moving campuses because they're closing down campuses, to my boy now being acting head coach and having to apply and going through the motions there. Will he get it, will he not, don't know, but you know what, he put his best foot forward. But I don't even know that that was really calling for him. Put it this way, he will not be heartbroken if he doesn't get it.
No, it wasn't a journey he had planned, but it just has come up. And I think that's what a lot of people are finding,
just
isn't
presented.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having, and I can always remember I did access bars, and it's a form of, holistic therapy. And I can always remember unlimited possibilities. That's what they used to talk about all the time, our unlimited possibilities. And I think we had become so, and some of us are cracking out of that and some of us aren't, and some of us are actually, jumping ahead with it. But we just can't pretend anymore. We have to actually take responsibility for who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. And what personal development path are you on? We're actually on to me, this is my personal belief, that this is a journey, this is a quest of self-discovery. That's what we're here for. And we're here to learn all these lessons. And if we go back and forth between doing what we've done and what we're going to do, and I always believe not going exactly backwards. I don't go, like I would never have gone back into the exact job that I came from with the exact organisation.
Yeah.
But I am very much about, if you actually can embrace change in a personal way, it makes change around you much easier to swallow.
Yes. Yes. And it's the greatest lesson of all, isn't it? Don't be so locked in. Don't die with the music still in you. Is one of the things that comes up for me. Don't discount the fact that things are being presented, and even when you're in your space, things will come your way that are going to challenge you, and change can be imminent. Like it can be something that's just thrust upon you straight away. It's how you cope. Yeah, it's how you respond. Well,
I say to people all the time, take me back 10 years ago, and I could not have even envisioned. I always knew I wanted to open my own business, but even 10 years ago, I would not. So that was 3 years before I did. I could not have even envisaged me not getting my income. And yes, there's been lots of things that have been affected by that, by me not staying in my job and getting all that, that extra pension and all of that sort of stuff for your super and what have you. Would I have regrets if I hadn't have stayed? Hell yes. Oh my God,
yeah.
I've followed my path. I've followed my journey. And it's not that it didn't work out. It's just that I've had my own struggles. I've had my own experiences. I've had my own joy. I've created a life I love. That is going to be my hardest bit, getting up each day and getting out of bed, because now at the moment I sleep in or do whatever I want whenever I want. I have created a lifestyle of that. And you very much can relate to that, Wendy. We have a lifestyle that our outside life fits inside our inside life,
Yeah.
How we choose to live is us, and then the rest actually blends around that. And so that will be my biggest challenge. That will be my biggest change, is having structure, because I don't have a lot of structure these days. I just do me.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not stuck. I am not stuck. I will look at my options if it's not working out and go from there. And I think making sure we're constantly living in a space that we love and that we're happy in, because I never want to go back. As I say that, all I can see is times where it was really tough when, Rob was starting out in the business, and I felt like I was a single mum a lot. And there's that genuine feel, even though you're earning good money, you feel poor, financially poor, because everything feels overwhelming.
Yeah.
You're time poor. You're too busy to really embrace life. And so I think coming through that and now looking back on that and doing all the personal development I've done in between, because that's really what it is. It's all my self-care, my personal development, creating a life that I'm happy with, and knowing that I'm in control of my life, even though when you back, and I look back when I was not in, I felt I wasn't in control of my life, and I now know that I was, but at the time I couldn't see the smoke. I just am so excited to whatever happens, wherever I go from here on in, is going to just be great, because I can drive that boat wherever I go.
Yeah. And I still believe that we are put in, God or whoever puts us in places where we're meant to connect with people. We're meant to experience that, what it is that's there. But I always reckon that we are, like, I have a look at mine. Like, I got a phone call to go into my last role on a phone the phone number had never been published because it was a VoIP phone. To say it from this guy who said he had a copy of my resume I never gave him, I never sent, and to offer
the universe
me a job,
works in funny old ways.
Yeah, to offer me a job I never applied for. It's like crazy. So when I have a look at what happened there, and then have a look at the relationships that, the people that I got to cross paths with there, if I had never gone there, I would never have known them,
True.
And I do believe it's not necessarily about what you're doing. It's about who you're being and who you're being with. Yeah.
And it really is. It's really important to take back your personal power through change. I can't stress that enough. It's probably the hardest time to embrace your power, but the most important, because the minute you give your power away, you no longer know or feel that you can do whatever you want. You no longer feel or know or have the confidence that you can be whoever you want.
But and look at, when we look at things like, if it's a forced change, if you've lost your job and you have to go into another one, you're going in with a little sense of dread. There might be a whole heap of resentment still there. There could be a real, I'm going to evaluate and always compare. And then you lose the gratitude. So it becomes a really shitty experience, when in actual fact, you need to look at it from a different set of eyes.
Yeah,
I was put here for a reason. What is that reason? And let me explore what that reason is. And it changes how the experience will play out, for sure.
And that's totally, I guess, where Mike's, I've been chatting for a long time now about, going in, going out, going in, going out, and lots of job opportunities have come up, and I still have not gone back in. This one looks like I actually am going to go back in. But the thing is, life isn't a bed of roses, but we can make it a rose garden, depending on how we react.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying to you earlier as well. And I think I even mentioned it in this podcast, that how I react differently these days is, I don't know, it's a bit like the domino effect of the affirmations. The more you tell yourself something, the more you start to believe it, the more the life starts to play out for you. And I think that's the same as how you start to react. You become, there's that old saying, water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
When you start to believe that you are a bit like a Teflon pan and things don't stick into you, you really deal with them very, very differently.
Yeah.
Because you believe in yourself, you trust that the universe has your back, you've just been your authentic self, and you're not buying into all that energy. You're actually going, okay, and I still say this, do I own it? Can I change it? Is it mine to change anyway?
Yeah.
And so it is. Change is difficult, because sometimes we make it difficult.
Yeah. And sometimes we just aren't in control, and that's what puts us out of sorts, is that we aren't in control. Where we've just got to change how we respond to things, and respond in a different way.
I'm yet to actually experience something terrible, and I've had some terrible things happen in my life, and I'm yet to experience where that, at the time, it didn't feel like it was the best thing for me. But on reflection, as I am getting older, I now go, okay, well, if that didn't happen that way, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think that's a really big lesson for me and others out there. When you start to look at, okay, and I work with my clients on this all the time. We've got this really horrible situation, but what is one good shining light that you can see now? Let's give your energy to that. And you can just start with that crack of light. Let's just focus there. Yeah. And before long, that crack actually becomes a much bigger light that you're standing in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on that note, what a great topic. We hope, like, I hope that from what we, from our chats, that people get a little sense of, okay, I can do that, or yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just believe and trust in yourself. You have all the tools at your fingertips. Well, you have all the tools within. Yeah. We just don't trust ourselves enough to believe that we do.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes you have to reach out to others to help you use the tools as well.
So that's where you can, don't forget that, if you have got a situation, you can contact either Sharon or myself.
Yes.
If there's something specific you'd love us to have a chat about that we might be able to shed some light on for you, you can send that through a DM, or you can leave it in our Facebook group, or leave it in a comment on our YouTube channel or in our podcast page.
We're across all socials. We're on Instagram, Facebook, not all socials, and YouTube. And we've got our website as well. So, reach out. Reach out. Don't do this alone. I can assure you now, all of my change, I've survived. I've looked back and I've survived, but I didn't always do it alone. I can't stress that enough. And you don't have to either.
Well, my, what's the old saying? My success rate of getting through bad days is 100%. So yeah, it's in different words to that, but yeah, it's to the same effect. Yeah, nice. And you can too. Like it's just a matter of and a large amount of it is who you surround yourself with. It's just empowered people. Yeah. So
on that note,
don't forget to follow us on our socials, but on our podcast, jump into Spotify. If you're watching on Spotify, make sure that you subscribe.
We need you. We need you.
Share
it with your friends and family, or those that you think will love it as well.
Absolutely. So thank you, Sharon.
And thank you, Wendy. Take care, be kind, and know you are always enough. You've got this. Bye for now.
Bye.